decision, one choice, one draft pick could change the course of your franchise for the next 10 to 15 years. So you have to get it right. There's no room for mistakes. You have to get it right. What's up, YouTube? Your boy back once again with another sports topic, and today we're going to talk some basketball, Orlando Magic basketball. We're going to talk about what the Orlando Magic are going to do with the first pick in the 2022 NBA draft. We're going to break it down. Before we do that, like I've been telling you on the last couple of videos, if you're liking the content, make sure that you're liking the channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you comment on all the videos, sharing all the videos on all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever social media platform you use, make sure you share it on those social media platforms. Also, follow me on social media. The link's in the description below. We also giving away 30 days free with Amazon Prime. If you sign up to Amazon Prime, you get 30 days free. The link is in the description below. Hit that link. Get your free 30. Who don't like free stuff? Get your free 30 days of Amazon Prime. If you don't already have Amazon Prime, my links in my social media in the description below. So hit my links. Follow me on all the social media platforms. Make sure you're sharing the videos on social media. And like I say, subscribe to the channel, like the channel. If you're liking the content, I know you do because you're on the channel, so obviously you do like the content. So make sure that you're sharing and liking the videos and things like that. Now let's talk about it, because the Orlando Magic have the first pick in the 2022 NFL draft. The first time since 2004 when they selected Dwight Howard. Now the Orlando Magic have a good history of #1 overall draft picks. Shaq in '92. Drafting Chris Webber, and then trading for Penny Hardaway in '93, then drafting Dwight Howard in 2004. Now we're at the situation in 2022, and the Orlando Magic have to get it right. They been since the trade of Dwight Howard, we've been one of the worst teams, worst ran franchises in the NBA. That's why we had the longest playoff drought in the Eastern Conference up until 2019. We finally broke through, got to the playoffs in 2019, and then backdoored and got again in the bubble season in 2020, if you want to count that as a playoff situation. But then, we end up trading Vooch and AG and Fournier, and been in the last 2 years been trying to basically tank to get the first overall pick. And now you're in a situation where you do actually have the #1 overall pick. And a lot of people been talking about Chet, and people been talking about Pablo, and people been talking about Jabari. And when the NBA lottery first happened, the Orlando Magic were awarded the first pick, everybody ran to and said it was going to be Chet. They were drawing the comparisons and the dots because, you got Jalen Suggs. You drafted Jalen Suggs last year. Chet and Jalen Suggs went to high school together, played AAU ball together, went to high school together, both played at Gonzaga, even though they played at different times, but went to the same college as well. And that was a comparison everybody was going to. Everybody was saying it was going to be that. I've always been on this like that on this since we got the #1 pick, that the Magic were not going to take Chet. I didn't believe the Magic were going to take Chet because they already been down that road before with Mo Bamba and Jonathan Isaac. Also, just recently got Bobo in the trade earlier this season. So I don't think they're going to go to that well again. The person who I think they're going to go to, and I've been seeing a lot of mock drafts lately saying the same exact thing, which I said on draft night, on the NBA Lottery draft night, is that the Orlando Magic could and should take Jabari Smith Jr. That's who the Orlando Magic are going to take. They're going to take Jabari Smith Jr. The reason why is because they need to fix the offensive scoring. The Orlando Magic were the second worst team in offense, one of the worst three-point shooting teams. That I think they might have been 28 in three-point, 28, 27, something like that. I don't think they were second or dead last, but they were one of the worst three-point shooting teams. They need to find a way to get some scoring. They have been missing scoring ever since Tracy McGrady. Like, we have not had a bona fide scorer since Tracy McGrady, since you trade Tracy McGrady to the Houston Rockets. I know people talk about with Dwight. I think Dwight might have averaged like 19 points for his career in Orlando, but Dwight wasn't a scorer. I know people want to talk about Rashard Lewis and Hedo Turkoglu and Jameer Nelson. Those guys, on occasion can get you 35 points here and there, but they wasn't doing it consistently. And then recently, when you had you had Vooch, who he had 20 points his first All-Star year, and the second time he made the All-Star game, he was averaging 21, 22 points. But those that's when you start running the ball through Vooch. When you start running the ball through Vooch, that's when he's able to put up points, because Vooch has always been a walking double-double. But when you start running the ball through Vooch, you wasn't getting really productive winning. I know we made the playoffs 2 times in 2019 and in the 2020 season, but it was like kind of like a fugazi playoff situation. It wasn't really like you really weren't going to go too far with that cast of guys. We need a guy who is a linchpin guy, a guy who's a full-fledged scorer, a guy who we can give the ball to and say, "Here, give me 20 or 25 points a night and give me that." We need a superstar type of guy. When you have the number 1 overall pick, that's what you need. You need a superstar caliber guy. And when you look at Jabari, he's it. I mean, the guy, I think what he shot 42% he shot 42% from the 3-point line. He's a great catch and shoot guy. And you hear the comparisons. I think he shot 80% from the free throw line, averaging 21 points a game off of in 34 games, averaging 21 like 6 points a game or something like that. So he's a guy who can score and a guy who can shoot. I think he opens up a lot of things. I think he fits in right with the cast of guys you got. I think he opens up a lot. I think he opens up the floor for Wendell. He fits right alongside things you want to do with Franz Wagner. I think with either Jalen Suggs or Markelle Fultz, who's ever the one you're going to use as your primary ball handler, I think both of those guys can set him up very well for a lot of catch and shoots. And also, it takes the pressure and also eases up the game for guys like Cole Anthony, guys like R.J. Hampton, and guys like Chuma Okeke coming off the bench, especially a guy like Cole, because when Cole gets on, Cole's a run and gun type of point guard. And I think part of the reason is it's his nature, because he's a scorer first point guard. But also, I think he feels like all the pressure's on him because he needs to go out there and get buckets. He needs to go out there and get buckets to help the team win. He needs to go out there and get buckets. I think when you got a guy like Jabari who opens up the floor and gives you a little bit more offensively in that first wave, in that starting wave, when you bring Cole off the bench, it's not that crucial. It's not a run and gun situation where you got to get back in the game because you're already down by double digits and things like that. Either you're in the game, you have the lead, or it's a back and forth game where Cole can play a little bit more to his strengths and it's a little bit easier. He doesn't have to feel like he has to make every single play. He can sit back and take his time a little bit. And it helps him out. Same thing, you can get a little bit more out of Chuma. You also get a little bit more out of RJ as well. And then also, I think if you bring back Jabari, if you draft Jabari, it better suits you to go ahead and bring back Mo Bamba. Now, again, if Mo Bamba gets a crazy offer from the Knicks or somebody else, I don't see the Magic matching a crazy offer. But if he doesn't get an offer at all from any other team, I think it does benefit the Magic to go ahead and re-sign Mo Bamba, because I think Jabari helps his game out as well, especially off the rebound aspect, because this guy Jabari is a catch and shoot type of guy. So even when he does not make it, when he does miss, you help out Mo Bamba. Mo Bamba's there to clean up and get some rebounds. Same thing with Wendell. Like I said, it opens up the space and opens up the floor. And his NBA comparison that he most gets compared to is Rashard Lewis. Orlando Magic fans know they will. And when you hear it first, when you first hear that as a comparison, you're like, you know what? I like Rashard Lewis, especially as Orlando Magic. You know, we went to the finals in 2009. But is that really worth a number 1 overall draft pick? Is a Rashard Lewis comp really worth the number 1 overall draft pick? But it's like he's a better Rashard Lewis. Not the Rashard Lewis that we got in Orlando, more so to Rashard Lewis that was playing out there in Seattle. And it's a better version. I think he's a more crisp, a little better scorer, and I also think he's a little better defender than he's a little bit better defender than Rashard Lewis. And also I heard a couple, not that many, very couple, and it's more so because of his ability to score, his ability to shoot, and because of his size and how fluid, how easy his shot comes off being at that size. I've heard comparisons to KD. Not saying that he is Kevin Durant, because we've heard a lot of Kevin Durant comparisons, like Jonathan Isaac, that really didn't make any sense. I'm not saying that he's going to be Kevin Durant, and I'm not. And when they said it, I kind of looked, but then when they kind of explained what they meant by that, and what they meant was the way the shot comes off. Obviously, Kevin Durant has way more tools in his bag from an offensive standpoint and from a shooting standpoint. But they were saying from this size, him being 6'10", Kevin Durant almost a 7-footer, if not 7-footer, him being 6'10", and his shot is a pure shot. It's a pure shot. It's a shot that most guys that were in the 6'4", 6'5" range, that type of guy's type of shot, how crisp it comes off his hand. He's a pure shooter. I think he's a guy who could be a dead-on shooter, a dead spot-up shooter, and a very good defender. And I think that he helps you out a whole lot. And I do think when you draft him, he has the capability and the tool set to be the number one scorer and the number one option. And by doing that, we have a lot of pieces around us. Like I said, Franz Wagner and Markelle Fultz and Wendell Carter and Chuma and R.J. Hampton and Cole and Jalen Suggs, potentially even Jonathan Isaac and Mo Bamba, depending on what you do with them, have a lot of pieces around him that will help him maximize his shooting capabilities and also help maximize what other guys got in their offensive repertoire and the defensive repertoires as well. That takes off pressure off a lot of guys and is able to build around. I think the Orlando Magic are at the point that they have a lot of guys. They have a lot of twos, a lot of threes, and I'm not meaning by two as two guard and three guards. What I mean by they have a lot of two-rated players, three-rated players that could be, if you put them on other teams, could be third and fourth options on those teams. They're a good cast of characters, but no superstar. They don't have a superstar. They don't have a guy who, I don't really think they have a guy who could potentially be a superstar. I know a lot of people have a lot of hope with Jonathan Isaac, but his injury concerns. Markelle Fultz at one point was the number one overall pick in his draft, and we all know what happened with him in Philly, and he's bounced back and made a great career out of himself so far in Orlando, and I think he's going to only get better. I have a lot of hope on Markelle, but I don't know if Markelle will ever reach that status of what he was thought of to be going into that 2017 draft. I don't know if he'll ever get back to that standpoint, that level, but I do think he'll be a high-quality guy, and I do think he'll be a high-caliber guy. Wendell, another lottery pick, even though he was drafted by Chicago, the pick after Mo Bamba, he's shown you a lot of potential. Franz Wagner is the wild card in the situation. Now, granted, I was not high on the draft pick when we drafted Franz Wagner. But I was looking at Kuminga, I was looking at Moses Moody, I was looking at Book Knight with that 8th pick, and we went out there and we drafted Franz Wagner. I was completely wrong. So far, what Franz has shown me his rookie year, he is definitely one of those linchpin guys. I don't know if he could be the number one guy. I don't know if he could be the superstar. But I definitely think he could definitely be a very strong number two. I definitely think he could be a very strong number two. So because of that, you're going to need a number one. And I think him and Jabari actually pair well together, to be honest with you. I think him and Jabari pair very, very well together. And I think they can do a lot of good, especially when you have somebody like Jalen Suggs and Markelle Fultz. Decide whatever you want to do, whoever you want to be the primary ball handler, because one can it can go both ways. Jalen Suggs could be the one, and Markelle could be the two. Markelle could be the two. Markelle could be one, and Jalen be the two, and Jalen can be the one, and Markelle could be the two. It goes both ways because both of them are basically combo guards. I think I might prefer Suggs being the point guard, even though he has had some questionable decisions with his ball handling, his rookie year, but. Just when you look at them, when you looked at them prior to that, it seemed like Suggs was more so of a more so legitimate playmaking point guard, and Markelle was more of a score first point guard. You know, he wasn't always a good shooter, but he was always a score first point guard. But it kind of seems like a little bit that since what Markelle showed you over the past couple of years, and also since he came back from his injury, Markelle has showed you a lot, and I think he helped make Wendell Carter look even better, and I think that's part of the reason why Wendell got that contract extension that he did. So I do think it goes either way. Whichever way they feel like is better suited for him, especially, I think either Markelle or Suggs, whichever one you choose to be the primary ball handler, and the other one be the two guard. Both help out and will be helped out by the presence of Jabari Smith and the way he can open up the floor for everybody on the court, and the way he pairs with pretty much, like I say, especially being paired with Wendell Carter and Franz Wagner. I think those two compares, I think he helps those guys out tremendously, and I think he better suits them more so than anybody else. I think he better suits the Orlando Magic more than Pablo, and I like Pablo a lot, but Pablo falls asleep on defense, and more so than Chet, because Chet is okay, and I think because he's 7 foot, I think people overgive him a higher ceiling. I think that both Pablo and Jabari have a higher ceiling than Chet, and they both have higher floors than Chet. I think Chet, because of Chet's frame, can end up being a guy who can be like a Greg Oden and barely plays basketball ever, because he ended up getting hurt, banging up against these big bodies. So I think he not so much. And then when it comes to his skill, he does everything decent. I mean, because he can get to from one end of the court and less dribbles because how tall he is. Is he gonna be able to do that in the NBA? Yeah, he's able to do that at Gonzaga, but can he do that in the NBA? I have questions about this, especially with that frame. And if he does put on weight, will he be able to do that as well? So I have a lot of questions when it comes to Chet. And I don't think his ceiling is as high as everybody wants it to be or says it's going to be. I think Jabari has a high ceiling because Jabari he's a better shooter. I think that Pablo probably has more scoring repertoires outside. I think Pablo has more offensive skill set, and because of his body type, he can bang a little bit because he has an NBA body right now. And Jabari is a little bit smaller. I think Jabari is with like 210 if I'm not mistaken. I think Jabari is 210 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's 6'10", 210. He's like 6'10", 210. Like I said, a shot 42% from three, 80% from the free throw line. He's shot. He averaged 21.2 points per game, and is projected to be from the 3-point in the NBA a 38% 3-point shooter from the NBA. So he's going to be a guy who can knock down shots. I think he has a higher ceiling because of his shot capability and his ability to play defense, his willingness to play defense, and I think also coming from an NBA pedigree, NBA family, his dad played in the NBA, and a guy who, when he talks about greatness and talks about pressure and talks about pressure something that you want. If you don't have pressure, why are you playing the game? Like when you hear somebody talk like that, that sounds like a guy who's ready to be the number 1 overall draft pick. When they are welcoming pressure. When it's not going to be a burden to them. When they look at it as, that's what it's supposed to be. That's what I'm supposed to get. I'm supposed to get pressure. I'm supposed to be pressure into the situation. So when I hear and see things like that, I definitely am intrigued and happy. And like, this is the guy who the Orlando Magic need to take. And I believe the Orlando Magic are leaning towards. Could it be some other things? Yes. Could they go another route? They absolutely could. But as of right now, I think the Orlando Magic can, will, should, and are going to take Jabari Smith, power forward out of Auburn with the number 1 overall pick in the 2022 NBA draft. Now, we'll see June 23rd. We'll see what happened on draft night, but that's what I think is going to happen. Like, subscribe if you haven't, comment below if you haven't, click that bell, get more videos. I holla.